Nobody knows what color to pick.
In life, you never know what cards you'll be dealt.
I had a wild card, I would have won.
And wild is the best way to describe the hand this family is playing with. There have been highs and lows, and grief is a constant companion. Lindy lost her mom in 2022, which makes being a mom tough.
How do you grieve properly, or how do you cope, but also make sure that they see strength and resilience? You want to wear those to school?
And there's fear. Unlike most people, Lindy knows what cards are in her own future. She's seen it up close.
I was speechless in that appointment because I guess I'd never been delivered news like that before. It was something so shocking that I didn't really know how to grasp it and to internalize it.
Aside from years of love, her mom had also given her a cruel gene that causes a condition nearly impossible to diagnose, as she learned firsthand.
This was the year that she started having symptoms.
Allison Lee was a proud mother of 3 girls, a successful physical therapist, and a doting grandmother. But when she turned 50, life turned upside down.
Some of her impulses would be to touch people in public. So if she saw something that somebody was wearing, she'd go up and pull some guy's pants up because she's like, I can see your underwear. She was boundaryless. Like, she didn't realize the societal norms that we kind of place on what is appropriate.
Lindy, a nurse herself, pounded doctors for information. She was told it was depression and psychological, but Lindy knew there was more. Meanwhile, Allison's bizarre behavior continued. She started shoplifting, and after dodging a traffic stop, she ended up in jail. Lindy's sister received this letter from a fellow inmate saying, "Your mom doesn't belong here. I think she has dementia."
Affirmation, it was the first time we finally had somebody else look into this from a third-party perspective and say, yes, this looks like dementia.
It was a diagnosis no doctor had given. Allison hadn't lost her memory, but she had lost the mind she once had, and something clicked with Lindy. Turns out that inmate, known only as Angie, was right.
The incredible kindness of a stranger to know that not only did she recognize this, but she recognized my mom as being vulnerable and then kept her safe.
Lindy now had a clear path, thanks to a stranger she'd never be able to thank.
Fell off my radar, unfortunately, and it's the one thing that I've never been able to figure out.
But with the context of dementia, she was able to figure out a lot, that her grandmother had similar impulsive behaviors. It was genetic. It was the MAPT mutation of frontal lobe dementia, FTD, a disease that hits at 50, and instead of losing memories, patients often lose impulse control and self-awareness.
Honestly, I had a lot of guilt over the fact that I was very intolerant to those symptoms when my mom would display them.
Lindy watched her mom progress, and one day she fell and hit her head. Because of the FTD, her brain couldn't take the swelling, and she died at 62, leaving devastation and frustration.
It was something that I wish I had that understanding while she was alive, so that I could have said, this is not her, she's not doing this to me, this is happening because this disease is causing this symptom.
But it was hard to separate her from the disease.
It was. And
so it was like, that, Mom, come on.
Correct.
Amidst the grief, shock, as tests came back, she and her 2 sisters had the gene as well.
And then what ran through your mind?
Truly that I passed it on to my daughters.
Just more unknown. She realized there was very little information about MAPT. She could barely Google the condition that she was most certainly going to have. Then, she and her husband happened to see a documentary on gene editing.
And so he just Google searched FTD, CRISPR, and then we came across a physician that's based out of San Francisco, so Dr. Claire Cleland.
And on the other side of the country, in a busy laboratory, their email was received.
I get contacted from patients, particularly gene carriers from around the world, but I remember just replying that I would try to help in the best way that I could.
And that was the start of a powerful friendship. Lindy set out on an advocacy journey, speaking to the nation's top neurologists, making them better understand this tricky and brutal disease that affects 40,000 Americans, essentially putting FTD on the map.
And if you look at new therapies that make it through the pipeline and actually get to patients, often they have patient supporters and champions that don't give up even when the work gets really hard.
And that hard work landed Lindy on the front page of the New York Times. From her frustration to her grief to that inmate's letter, she laid out her story for the world to see, giving her even more opportunity for revelations like this.
And then this is the mouse that has the frontotemporal dementia mutation that Lindy has.
That mouse is a symbol of hope. It's part of promising research at the University of Minnesota.
Nice to meet you. I'm Lindy Jacobs.
Okay, nice to meet you.
And now these scientists have a face to their research.
Lindy sent me an email, so she's actually the first FTD patient I've ever met.
Dr. Coop and his students are getting promising results for a treatment for people who know they have the gene.
So for her, it's just a matter of time. This is going to happen. At this point, I'm fairly confident that there will be an intervention that is going to work.
So from mice to the microscopes, things are looking up.
It's a promising time to be involved.
It is.
Things are happening. So.
Very much so,
Right.
yes. And it's, I think it's amazing to be able to share that with the community as well.
Traveling the country on her own dime, she is doing just that. As our cameras followed her for 2 months, she had another breakthrough.
My heart rate's high, I can tell that.
This one came at a coffee shop in River Falls, Wisconsin.
How are you feeling? Excited. Nervous.
Remember that inmate who diagnosed her mom with this letter? Lindy finally found her on Facebook, and she agreed to meet.
Hi. Hi.
Hi! Oh my God.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
8 years after a chance encounter between inmates, a life-changing conversation. It was hard to even know where to begin.
I have no idea what the Lord is doing. I think it's amazing that He brought our lives together. I never realized, just even writing that letter, what it was doing, right? I just knew that your mom was a really great person and needed help.
The letter, to know that you put yourself in a position that you didn't have to put yourself into, right? And then to also know that taking care of her made you stand out differently from others.
As they marveled at the letter, they marveled at the moment.
I think there's so many times in life that people are brought into our lives, right? For a purpose, right? And a bigger purpose.
Yeah, she's actually the beginning of my journey, my sobriety. Yeah.
Angela Olsen knew the ropes when it came to jail. She was 20 years into her addiction.
All these years, my whole life, I never understood how to have actually emotions. And so it was like I was rejected in my life, betrayed by people, but yet didn't understand how to have love or emotion, and just was so suppressed. And so then I ended up coming to Teen Challenge.
Angela is now 7 years sober and thriving as a manager at Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge Recovery Program. She spends her days sharing her story.
Well, you got a new story to tell.
Yeah.
A story that has captured attention far and wide.
My biggest question is that I can't get over. How did you recognize the dementia part?
Just that she kept repeating herself and kind of going back, right? Not ever moving forward in the memory, but was like kept going back, and it was almost like a compulsiveness in it. And I just kind of knew that, okay, she has dementia. Something's obviously wrong. And
you were right.
Yeah.
Angela also had some medical experience. She was once a nurse, adding more to the story she has to tell and the story they are able to show.
And just reading how Lindy said how she was easily diagnosed by inmate before any doctor diagnosed this dementia. And I was just like, thank you, Lord, for using me. Thank you that something that I did was to help this woman that I didn't even know.
And now she and Lindy are helping many others.
I think it's one of those things where if by sharing you change the course for one person, Like, what is that ripple, right?
And now Lindy has another partner in her fight to honor her mom, to protect her daughters. And that's the thing about life. Even when the cards are stacked against you, there can still be some big wins.
You did it?
I did it!
With photojournalist Dave Charest, Susan Elizabeth Littlefield, WCCO News.
I'm sorry.